Today, my very special guest on Hello Darlink is the king of night radio, the remarkable, legendary Jon Lewis. Hello Darlink, welcome to the show.
Hello darling, thank you. It's lovely to be here and thank you for those kind words.
Jon, thank you for getting up a little bit earlier for me today.
It is unusual for me to be up during the day.
How many years have you been now the king of the night?
Well, a lot of years, probably more than I care to remember. And I love it. But I have found that you, Barbara, are a fascinating person. And if it's all right, I'd rather ask you some questions. And I even brought some with me, if that's all right. But my first one is it true that when you first arrived here in Western Australia, in Perth, that you actually confused the river with the ocean?
Well, yes, it is true.
I mean, it's a big river.
I used to drive around and I was to ask for directions. That's before GPS times, because I arrived here with my family in 2001. And I said, excuse me, how do I go to Mount Pleasant? That was from Applecross.
Yeah.
Took me 45 minutes. They said, just go along the water. By the time I went along the water, I probably was in Claremont, so I used to open the window, say, excuse me, is this a river or is the sea? I'm a little bit better now, Jon.
Well, it's an easy confusion, but when you arrived here in Perth, I mean, you must have looked at what we had, and we'll get to your life in a moment, I'm sure, but I think you felt that you needed to do something. There was something burning inside you. You needed to make a move. Where did that come from?
Well, it's still burning, I have to admit. Perth, Western Australia, is most incredible breadbasket of inspirational energy. Now, with what I did previously before I arrived here in my life, I obviously wasn't short of being inspirational, but since I arrived in WA, honestly, this is like a bulb went on and doesn't switch off, sometimes at night, lucky for me. I have ideas, I have inspiration of creating campaigns, creating movements, creating events, every time with a purpose of something bigger to be addressed with it, not just for fun.
Because you really want to make a difference. I mean, it's easy to see in everything that you do, you want there to be a positive change, and you're prepared to take on many causes. You really want to see these things move.
Look, when I arrived here in 2001, Perth, and obviously having lived in many, many cities of the world, I lived in Paris, I lived in Munich, I lived in Hamburg, I lived in Vienna, I was born in Warsaw, I lived in Johannesburg, South Africa, so I lived on many continents and several countries, capitals of the city. Arriving here, what I find very beautiful today still, it was very quiet. The first thing that came to my attention is that people, obviously different than in Europe, after work don't go for drink or meet or network.
That's right.
They just go home.
Yeah, that's right. Straight home.
To cut long story short, the term networking didn't exist. Oh, if it existed, it was very, very low key.
Yeah.
And I had this idea to create networking events when people meet, network, have a good time, and each time they do it, they support worthy cause. And I started it with Momentum Friday networking events.
Yes.
And I remember I went to several hotels, sharing my vision, being so excited about it. And Sheraton Hotel Perth, which is now Pan Pacific, I got the biggest welcome. And I think the Italian manager who was then really shared my passion. And I started in the Origin restaurants, Friday networking lunches.
Right.
And I never forget, the capacity of the restaurant was 75 people. The first lunch we had,
Right.
I opened the door and I closed it straight away. It was about 145 women standing there.
75 only, but outside almost double that.
We had double. And I had all the media.
Was that hard going?
In Perth, Darling, not yet, but you're coming. That was women only those days.
Right.
And I asked Sheraton, what are the charities here in Australia? Because I didn't know. And they say, well, you know, there are many, but we do salary deduction for canteen. And I ask, what's canteen? And I go, teenagers living with cancer.
Wow.
Boom,
Yeah.
shivers, done. I got done. So obviously our purpose was straight away with the networking lunches to make people meet. And each time we were giving percentage from ticket sales and raffle money to canteen.
Incredible. They must have been delighted at Canteen that you were there to help them. But it's not just raising money, you raise awareness. How powerful is that and how do you do it?
Oh, John, raising awareness is actually the main obstacle of the work I do, and I have done over 18 years now, because awareness is the beginning of everything.
Yes.
Awareness is the biggest agent for any change. Any change can only happen or start, and always does, with awareness.
It's like an education, isn't it? We all love to help, but we can't help if we don't know how or why.
It's starting conversation. It's opening people's minds and eyes for subjects, topics, conditions that very often are swept under a carpet or are just not highlighted enough. It's things we know, but we have to hear it and see it and be spoken about.
Barbara, tell me about Barbara before you arrived in Australia.
How many time? How many hours do we have?
As much as you like.
John, just to be brief, of course, I was born Polish. I grew up in Warsaw. I studied law, and then I became international actress. And that's what took me to so many countries. So I had a contract with a Constantin film German distribution company. In the age of 22, I got a leading part in Sydney, and I remember I was told, you're flying to Sydney, you're going to, I got a leading part with a big Australian star, Jack Thompson.
Wow.
Yes, he was gorgeous. He was actually on the cover of the Clio magazine.
Yeah, we all know about that one.
Lead.
Yes.
And I had to get Australian visa. I was in Munich, and I remember my agent said to me, Barbara, we have to go to the Australian embassy now because you're leaving on Monday, show business.
Wow.
We arrived at the Australian embassy. They were closing in half an hour. He said to me, the officer, have you got a passport? I go, no, nobody told me about passport. He says, well, sorry. I go, you know what? Today in a newspaper, which is true, was my photo. The photo was me in bikini with the ivory tooth. I said, can we cut my head and put it on a forum? He said to me, only if we can keep the rest. That's how I got Australian visa. Okay, so I made several movies in several countries, in France, in Germany, in Australia. I never ever knew I'm going to live in Australia one day. I went back to Munich and I said to everybody, guys, you think Australia is like behind? It's magic. Yes. In Sydney, people go out and dance every night.
Oh,
true?
That's right, yeah, of course.
I had my own chair with my acting name, Barbara Nielsen. I found Australia beautiful.
Yes.
And destiny brought me back 20 years later.
Maybe that's how we were able to hold on to you.
Yes.
What would you say your biggest achievement is to date with all of the work you've done?
I would say if I have to choose one, in 2008 I launched the Men in Black Ball in support of men's mental health. Yes. Fight against depression.
Very powerful. Because that's not spoken about enough. In fact, it's almost not spoken about because men, we don't like to come forward.
And that it has a story and to remove the stigma attached. Yes. Men don't talk, boys don't cry. They rather die and cry. In 2007, a very beautiful TV presenter, Charmaine Dragoon, Channel 10,
God bless her,
died to suicide. She was hosted a couple of my beautiful events. Yes. And she spoke to me on Thursday, on Friday, on a phone from Sydney, asking for photos from the Pink Ribbon Ball she hosted. She sounded beautiful, cheerful. And on Friday, the news broke out that she unfortunately died. And I remember media calling me and saying, Barbara, do you know how Charmaine died? And I go, you know, I can't comprehend it, but I actually heard it was suicide. By then I heard something. And the media person said, the journalist, well, then we can't write about it. I go, what do you mean you can't write about it? 2007. Yes. Because there's a stigma attached to the word suicide. I go, well, then what do you write when you don't write what really happened? Another topic. Initially, I remember saying, I have to do something. I'm going to make an awareness campaign, an event. as a tribute to Charmaine, to remove the stigma attached. And then I went to the funeral, and I don't have to tell you. The heartbroken parents, the heartbroken family, boyfriend, it's horrific. The pain, that the senseless loss of a young life. And I thought, I can't do an event. My events have to be happy. They have to, ooze energy. And something happened. Universe provides when you put something out there. Within 6 months, I experienced suicide, male suicide, of people I knew, or my family knew, or my friends knew.
Yes.
Age from 15 to 65, male suicide. I lost business affiliates, I lost very inspiring friends, and every time when the male lost his life to suicide, the female who was left behind, if it was a wife, mother, girlfriend, daughter, each of them said each time the same thing. If he would just spoke to me.
That's right.
If he would just tell me, if he would told us, he was so happy. He wasn't. In 2008, after losing a friend who was a producer to suicide, Gordon Inglis, I decided I'm going to host Men in Black Ball in support of men's mental health. And the shift that Men in Black Ball has created since, it's enormous.
You will tackle issues that other people are almost, I don't like using the word afraid, but I'll use it to touch these topics. But you do it, and you're also brave enough to embrace it in a positive way, in a bright way, whereas I think most of us, we don't like to hear it, we don't like to talk about it. How do you do that? How do you make such a stigma-related topic something that we can get dressed up, go to a ball, have a good time, learn, and then be better for it?
You know, John, you have to look for the why. Why do I do it? Because I want to encourage people to make change. And I remember one of the most rewarding moments was, so I get emotional. Somebody asked me to the one of Men in Black Ball if they can bring their son, who is 14. I go, I hope he doesn't drink. Joke. In a supervision of a parents, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And he came to me after, and he says, thank you so much. I'm going to go to school on Monday, and I'm going to tell my friends that we have to talk.
Wow.
We have to have conversation. Because when we hide it all, nothing will change.
Wow.
And that's what we're talking about. And the glamour, because we love Men in Black. And John, by the way, thank you for wearing a black suit. Because the difference when a man wears suit is like when the woman wears high heels. You guys look gorgeous. Because you actually have to celebrate, to enjoy it. And each time at the Men in Black Ball, we have a testimonial speakers, people who stand there, share journey of turning the life around when they were so close, when they decided and believed they're going to do it.
It's great to have examples, someone we can look up to and say, so he did it, she did it, maybe I can do it too. You now know it's achievable and you're not the only one. Is that what you're hoping to achieve with Momentum? Is that your main aim?
Momentum is because it creates momentum. And I remember brainstorming names when Momentum was registered. My Momentum is also a word of change. When I called it Momentum, I probably didn't even realize how right it will be for the work I was going to do for the next 20 years. Well, it does seem what you're all about. You're always moving forward. You're always coming up with ideas.
And
I can't sit still, which even my cameraman told me. So I just remember,
So really it's that making people aware and creating that change, and the change in that young boy as he headed off to school.
Look, John, I will never be able to say how many lives we saved, how many lives we changed, even if it was one. It's worth it.
That's right. It's the importance of creating awareness, isn't it? Do you think enough people can ever know and be aware? Do you think
it's never enough?
Them?
But as I say, Men in Black, since 2008, since the inception of Men in Black, it was still time when Alan Carpenter was a premier and he came to the event.
Yes.
And it was a sellout event in
Yeah.
Hyatt Regency
Well, you've had
Perth.
big names come to your events, and they've chosen to be there.
That's right. I'm very grateful, to, not just to have a big names attending the events, but I'm very grateful to all testimonial speakers that came from sport, politics, journalists, war veterans, Vietnam, name it. People that are unsung heroes, people that are famous, people that became more famous, but people that opened their heart. I always say the testimonial speaker stand there naked. They strip down any kind of a filter and they're telling their story.
When they speak, you can hear a pin drop.
That's right.
It's an amazing thing. It's not just awareness, though, that you create, and it's not just education. These are very important things. You do also raise money and make that available.
Yes.
Can I ask how much money have you raised?
Over years, I think we're aiming to get about 600,000 soon.
Wow.
So it's close to 600,000. Yes.
$600,000.
Yes, for various causes. Yeah.
And that goes straight to all those charities and causes.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a huge amount of money. How does that make you feel?
It's hard work. It's very hard work. It makes me feel every dollar that a charity didn't have before is the one that makes a difference. It makes me feel very proud.
Yeah. You're if it's okay to say this, Barbara, you're a glamorous person. Some people might describe you as a socialite. Do you think that would be fitting, or do you think you're perhaps more like a game changer, a social game changer?
Well,
because most of the events you go to are your own events, aren't they?
Yes, social game changer, I think that's correct, because yes, I would say if you see me featured in newspapers, out of 10 events, out of 10 pictures, 8 of them, it's my own work on my own events I created. So social game changer, yes, I think it can actually apply.
What's your secret to being so happy and charming at your own events when I could only imagine it must be a huge amount of work?
Look,
Have you
I'm
got a tip
lucky.
for us?
I'm lucky because I get assistance from young internship students who I actually teach about corporate world, about hard work, and they're giving a lot of young energy and support.
Yeah.
So it works well. And it's like any kind of initiative, when you've got the supporting public, speakers, guests, this is the reward. This is what it's all about. When you see people happy, engaged in conversation, listening, that's what it's all about. It is hard work, of course it is.
Does it ever get any easier? You hear a story and I don't know if you can ever get used to the stories.
John, it actually doesn't. It actually doesn't, because you're as good as your last show.
Right, yeah.
As you know.
That's
By the way, I was going to interview you. As you know. So, easier? No. Astoundingly, no. Is it easier for you to host night show after so many years?
Not really. It seems like the more you do, the more you realise what there is to be done.
That's right.
But I did hear a quote, Barbara, that said something along the lines of, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Do you think that applies to you?
I think it applies to, yes, certain amount of work that you do for such a, with such a passion and dedication, you can only do if you love it. Otherwise you resent it and you do 9 to 5.
That's right.
And this is not 9 to 5. This is 24/7, this is 24/24. When I don't work, I work. Because I cannot switch off, because I already create the next. Very often I sit at the event and I'm thinking, next year, I'm actually going to do it this way from the...
One thing I very much like about you, Barbara, is you don't just have ideas and say it would be good if someone did this, or it would be good if someone raised the awareness on this. You actually get out and do it. So do you have a whole lot of ideas that you're still yet to do? Because there's only so much time in a day.
Yes, John, I do. And there are other ideas that came to realization, which is the Kiss Violence Against Women Goodbye campaign, which is obviously breast cancer awareness with Pink Ribbon Ball that was launched in 2003. Kiss Violence Against Women Goodbye, another story with a background, And what I need to say, which is astounding, sometimes I wish that the campaigns and causes I have created would be not up to date. Kiss Violence Against Women Goodbye, Prevention of Domestic Violence has never ever been more topical and needed the awareness for it than it's now.
So true.
Mental health is galloping through broken ceilings, broken lives, has never been more needed and topical than now. I won't even touch on breast cancer, where obviously the research is doing fantastic jobs.
And isn't that wonderful news?
Beautiful.
So much that we can raise an awareness. Now, Barbara, I'm giving you a magic wand. You've heard about this, haven't you?
Only if I can give you one at the end as well.
I'll give you a magic wand, only 2 wishes. One for the world and one that you'd wish for yourself. The wand is yours.
Okay, for myself, let's do me first. I hope that I can continue my work, and I hope that I can that I will continue having the strength and the inspiration and the support and making a difference, honestly. That's all I hope. For the world, can I have a half an hour for magic word? For magic wand? I wish more respect in the world.
Yes.
I also wish
I
that there
agree.
was more balance. People who sit on billions and people don't have a bowl of rice. I think that I wish that there would be more self-esteem for young people. I wish that people will understand that being different makes all the difference. I wish that young people wouldn't try to look like each other and become invisible through this. I wish so much. I have so much to do.
I'm going to have to get some more magic wands for those extra wishes for sure. You can make those things happen, and I see you doing it already, Barbara. Barbara Darlink, thank you for being on your show.
Thank you, darling. Next time, I'm going to interview you and give you your magic wand. Thanks for your time that you gave to me.
It's a pleasure, as always, Barbara.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you, darling.
Hi, welcome. I'm Barbara, founder of Momentum, where you can socialize, network, promote your business, fundraise, and have a lot of fun. On this site, you can win fantastic prizes, become Momentum member, and purchase tickets for our next events. So come and have a look. But all of this couldn't happen without our sponsors and you. So become part of Momentum and have fun with us.